You can see that my item level is 3, so when I play, the booties required goes to 2, and when I get 2 booties in a row, I get an extra amount of money, and a little animation also pops up. And if I miss a booty, the amount of booties in a row goes to 0. Perfect. Hi, I'm Ricky. Today we're on the 13th episode of the Endless Runner series, and in this episode we'll take a look on how to implement a bonus effect to our game. So when we collect enough booties in a row, an effect will trigger and we'll get some extra money. I will also make an item in the shop that will decrease the amount of booties in a row required to activate the bonus. So first we make the bonus effect, then we make the item in the shop, and finally we make an animation to show when we got the bonus. This series is based on a game that I already made and published called BoatVenture. If you want to know how the finished game will look like, do check it out, it's on the Play Store for free for Android devices 9+. Okay, so let's start. Let's make a new script called player bonus. In here, for now, we just need to take into account 2 values. How many booties in a row we have collected and how many we need to activate the bonus. This value doesn't need to be serialized, but we'll keep it like that for debugging. Now let's make a public void function called onCollectBooty. And we're going to call this function whenever we collect a booty through the player money script to add the amount of booties in a row that we have collected. So first we increase the amount of booties in a row collected, and then we check if the amount that we have is equal to the max. And if they are, we reset the value, and we want to get a bonus money. To do that, let's make a new function, and I'm going to call it a private void getBonus. Let's call the function in here. And for now, in getBonus, we're just going to pull a random number from 1 to 10, and then we're going to use that number to increase the amount of money. Now, before we go any further, let's grab the player money script, and in here, as you can see, we have a function called addMoney that increases the amount of money that we have. The problem is that we call addMoney whenever we collect a booty, and we actually want to call the onBooty collected from the player bonus script with this function in here, and that could cause a loop. So to make things clear, first let's actually rename this function from addMoney to collectBooty. Then in here, instead of just calling the player bonus function onCollectBooty, we're going to transform this function into an int, and we're going to return the amount of bonus money. So we're going to transform getBonus into an int too, and in here we return bonus money, and in here we return getBonus. And if we don't make a bonus, so the amount of booties in a row are less than the maximum value, then we return 0. Now let's make a singleton of this script. I'm also gonna set the needed for bonus to a default value of 5. And finally, let's go to player money and let's call onCollectBooty. And this function is going to tell us whether we have actually collected some booty or not, so we just say that current money plus equal this function. And that's it. Now let's go to Unity, and as you can see we have an error. That is because we renamed one of the function, so I'm just going to go in here and rename this function from addMoney to collectBooty. And now we can add our player bonus script to our boat. Now what we need to do is make it so that when a booty reaches the end, so when it reaches the finish line, instead of just destroying the booty, we also want to reset the amount of booties collected in a row. Let's select our finish line, and let's open finish line script. In here, we destroy all entities that come across the screen. What we want to do is, before we destroy the entity, is check whether the entity is a booty or not. And if it is a booty, then we call our player bonus script and we reset the amount of booties. To do that, let's make a new function in our player bonus script. In here, I'm gonna make a public void function called resetBootiesCollected. And we just say booties in a row collected equals 0. For now it's a really simple and short function, but we could expand on it, so let's actually call this function also when we get a bonus. Now back to the finish line. In here we just need to check if collision with a component entity type has a type of type booty. If it is a booty, then we just call the player bonus function. And in theory, that should work. Let's go to Unity. I'm also going to set the needed booties to 2 just for testing. When we collect a booty, booties in a row collected increases. When we miss a booty, it goes to 0. And if we get 2 in a row, you can see that our amount of booty actually increases by more than 1, so we are getting the bonus. Perfect. Okay, and for the second part of the video, we're gonna make a shop item that decreases the amount of booties in a row required for the effect to trigger. So let's go in our canvas and let's select our shop item. And I'm just gonna duplicate it and move the anchors. Okay, and always remember to test with free aspect if your new UI works. And for the item, I'm just gonna change the image to be a booty. And now we're gonna open shop item script. And to make a new item, we just need to make a new item in shop items. So I'm gonna replace the placeholder with a new item name. And I've called it pirate grid. Now back to Unity. I'm gonna select the new item and also change the name. And for the price and the level max, we'll be fine like this. Now we just need to implement this new item, and we'll do that in our player bonus script. In here, I'm gonna make a new public void function called start script. If you remember, we call all start script functions in our game when we start the game, so when we leave the shop. In here, we just detract from booties in a row needed for bonus by the amount of player pref over shop item pirate grid. Okay, and finally we need to call start script from our start game manager, and I'm gonna call it just after boat movement. Okay, and now let's test if it works. As you can see right now we need 5 to activate the bonus, but if I hit play and I buy the item, let's say 3, you can see that it has decreased to 2, and if I close the game and reopen it, when I leave the shop you can see that it still goes to 2. And you can see that it actually works because right now we have 971 money, but if you collect the booties in a row needed, we go to 75, so it actually works. Perfect. Okay, and finally we make an animation to show when we got the bonus. In my game BoatVenture, I've made it so that the text pops up and it shows you how much money you got, but I think it's a bit too distracting. The player doesn't really need how much extra gold he got during gameplay. So instead we're just going to make an animation of a booty that slowly fades out. So let's focus on the boat, and I'm going to make a new 2D object, and I'm going to call it bonus animation sprite. I'm going to give it the booty image, and for the animation we're just going to make it go slightly up and slowly fade out. So let's add an animator component. And let's make a new animator, and I'm going to call it bonus item. And let's add it. Now before we actually animate the sprite, we need to do something. If we just animate the sprite the way it is, whenever we play animation, the sprite will just go from a fixed starting point to an end. Instead, we want the animation to start wherever our boat is. And we can't do that directly. Instead, we need to make an empty game object and then move the game object where we want our animation to start. If you have never made animations before, this could seem a little silly and tricky, but that's just the way it is. Make sure that the child, so the sprite, has set the position to 0. Now let's make a new animation clip, and I'm gonna call it bonus item fade. In here we need to add the properties of type position and color. I'm gonna go to the end, hit record, and set the Y position to 2. I'm also gonna set the alpha to 0, and that's what we get. Although I think the alpha color changes a bit too quickly, so I'm actually gonna move the sprite render color starting point from start to halfway. I think this looks better. Now let's go back to our project, and let's make a prefab out of this parent. I'm gonna delete the instance, and now when we get the bonus, we just need to instantiate this prefab. So let's go back to our player bonus script, and here let's make a reference to the prefab. And then in the getBonus function, we just instantiate that game object. And we also want to set the position to our current transform position, and for the rotation, we're gonna say a quaternion identity. Let's also open the animator, and let's turn off the loop time. Finally, we also want to destroy this object after it ran off its animation. So let's make a reference to the instantiated object, and let's destroy it after 2 seconds. Back to Unity, let's drag the prefab in its position. As you can see, I need 5 booties in a row to activate the bonus, but if I hit play, you can see that my item level is 3, so when I play, the booties required goes to 2, and when I get 2 booties in a row, I get an extra amount of money and a little animation also pops up. And if I miss a booty, the amount of booties in a row goes to 0. Perfect. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you've learned something new. If you like this content and want more, please like and subscribe. If you have any doubts about the code or any suggestions about the next topic, do tell me in the comments. If you want to know how the finished product will look like, do check out my game called BoatVenture. It's free on the Play Store for Android 9+, link in the description. In the next video, we're gonna make 2 new items. Pirate's Luck, which will increase the chance for booties to spawn, and Sea Heart, which will add an extra life to your game and slow down time when you get hit the first time. So be sure to stay tuned. Alright, and I'll see you in the next video.